Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled September 28th meeting of the Village of Pinehurst Historic Preservation Commission. The purpose of the commission is to decide applications for certificates of appropriateness for new construction or major work within the Pinehurst Historic District, and to do so by conducting hearings and making findings of fact when such applications come before us. By law, the commission is directed to take no action except to prevent construction or alterations that would be incongruous with the special character of the historic district. I'm John Taylor, the chair of the commission. I'd like to ask each commissioner, starting from my left, to state his or her name for the record.
Roxanne Batekis.
Richard Vincent.
John Taylor.
Angelique Fabiani.
David Herring.
We have two members absent, but there are five of us here, so we are a quorum. Also present today are three members of staff, Maria Carpenter, who will be making presentations, and Pam Graham, and a new member, Mike Mandeville. Mike, welcome. Thank you very much, and we look forward to working with you. Our first order of business is to review and approve the minutes of our last meeting. All commissioners have been provided with copies of the draft minutes. Does any commissioner have any changes to suggest? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
I move to approve the minutes of August 24th, 2023 regular meeting.
Moved by Roxanne Beatkus. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by David Herring. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. May I now have a motion to enter the public hearing?
So moved.
Moved by David Herring. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Angelique Fabiani. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are now in a public hearing. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. That means that anyone desiring to testify must be sworn in, and the commission is required to consider only facts presented in the hearing. The proceedings are video recorded. I ask the commissioners if they have visited any of the sites on our docket today and whether they have had any ex parte communication with respect to any of the cases we'll be considering. Roxanne?
I visited all the sites and have no ex parte communication.
Richard, both sites, no ex parte communication.
John, both sites, no ex parte communication.
Visited both sites, no ex parte communications.
Both, no communication.
In each case that the commission will hear this afternoon, staff will first present a summary of the application, the staff's evaluation of the extent to which the application complies with the commission's standards for such an application or raises issues that require further information, their comments on the application, and where appropriate, staff's recommendation for commission action. The application and its supporting documents, as well as the staff's detailed report, will then be entered into the record. The commissioners will have an opportunity to question staff about this report and testimony. Next, the applicant or applicant's representatives will have an opportunity to provide any additional information supporting the application and address any questions or issues identified in staff's testimony. Commissioners will have an opportunity to question the applicant witnesses. After the applicant's presentation, if any member of the public wishes to present any evidence, either in support of or opposition to the application, I'll ask you to come forward at that time and identify yourselves. I will swear you in and give you an opportunity to present any reasons why you believe the application should be granted or denied. Please remember, the commission's interested only in facts that will help us decide whether the proposed work would be congruous with the special character of the Pinehurst Historic District. As chair, I have the right to exclude testimony that is not relevant to that subject, but I'm not required to do so. Commissioners will have an opportunity to question you about your testimony, and the applicant or staff will have time to respond to your testimony. If they have that, I will permit them to do so. We will now proceed to our first case. Let me start by swearing in Maria, please. Maria, would you please stand? Raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give the commission with respect to all the cases on our docket today shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Please present the first case.
Great. So our first case is, the purpose of this public hearing is to consider a major certificate of appropriateness within the Pinehurst Historic District for a new single-family dwelling at 125 Graham Road. The property is identified as Moore County Parcel ID number 000-20108. The property owners are Pear Tree Properties LLC, and the applicant is Thomas Bradford. So the applicant proposes to build a 3,274 heated square foot, two-story, single-family dwelling with garage, covered front porch, rear patio, driveway, and walkways. The property is currently vacant, and it is approximately 0.469 acres in size. This is major work that needs review by the Historic Preservation Commission because it is new construction or additions not considered to be minor work. So the public hearing was noticed in accordance with the PDO and North Carolina general statutes, and you can see our subject property in the hashed out area here, and the noticed properties are all outlined in red. So here we have a rendering of the front of the house. And here we have our elevations. So you can see the front elevation, the rear here, and then the left and right elevations. These are the colors and materials they'll be using. So we have the siding, trim, and the front door, as well as the shingles for the roof and stone on the side. And here is a site plan, so you can see where the house will be, along with the tree survey showing some of the trees that will be removed, as well as those that will be staying. The applicant has submitted an application and provided additional documentation in an attempt to satisfy the burden of proof. The commission will need to determine if the new construction is congruous with the historic district and meets the historic district standards. And I would like to submit into the record the staff report with attachments and exhibits, this presentation, along with the application and the applicant's materials and exhibits.
Thank you, Maria. Without objection, the materials referred to by staff are admitted into the record. Do commissioners have any questions for staff? David?
One question. Could you go to the site plan?
Sure.
Could you tell me where the front yard is?
Going to be over here.
Long Graham. Thank you. That's all I got.
Anything else for staff?
I just had a question on the elevation drawings, but is that for staff or will that be for the applicant?
It has probably applicant, but
Okay.
you can
I'll
ask me if
wait.
you want.
No, I can wait. I had a question because it shows well, I'll wait.
Okay.
I'll wait.
Anything else for staff? Is the applicant or their representatives present? Please come forward. Sir, if you'll go to the standing microphone there, please, for starters. If you would please state your name, spell your last name for the record, and state your relationship to the property.
Thomas Bradford, and I'm the owner of the property, and it's Bradford.
Bradford, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give to the commission with respect to the application shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You may stand or sit as you prefer. But please do speak into the microphone, whichever. What would you like to add to the presentation that Maria did?
I don't really have anything to add. I think everything is in there, so I'm just really here to answer questions if you do have one.
Good. We appreciate you coming. Questions for the applicant from the commission? David?
Let's start with the elevation sheet. If you look at the elevation sheet, you'll see the two side elevations, left and right. They appear to be drawn in reverse. Can you confirm that's true? For example, if you look at the left elevation, the garage is closer to the left side, whereas on all the other drawings, it's closer to the front of the house, which would be the right side. So if that were mirror imaged, it would be correct, I think.
Yeah, you pick it up on the site plan. You can see where the driveway is on the site plan.
I think they are reversed, yes.
Reversed, okay. Now in some more detail, while we're on that sheet, let's go to the front elevation. On the front elevation, you have one dormer, which is over, it looks like it's over the master closet, roughly speaking, on the
Okay.
right side there. It's drawn with a shed roof.
Right.
If you look at the roof plan, it's drawn with a gable roof. Which would you like?
It is the shed.
Shed roof. Is that true for the dormer on the back side of the house as well? Elevation is drawn as a shed. It's a gable or a shed?
Shed.
Shed. On the colored elevation, this one, right at the peak of the main gable, there is an elliptical window. On the elevation, it's a circular window.
It probably will be round. We're having a difficult time finding the elliptical.
You would prefer the elliptical if you could find it, though?
Yes.
The steps in front of the front door and maybe even for the porch itself, the front door, is that brick or is it stone?
Steps are brick.
Surface of the porch?
Brick.
Brick. Do you have a sample of the brick or a color for the brick, or what does it look like?
Consider it red. I
That's a
don't have
pretty
the
broad-
exact, I didn't bring the paper, no.
Don't have it yet.
Typically, we use,
I've looked at how you change your materials as you go around corners. You have a lot of corners in your house. And if I look at the corners as I work my way around, starting at the front elevation, quite often you'll change directly from a shake to a lap siding. Sometimes you change from stone to lap siding. Sometimes you change from brick to stone. Sometimes it's hard to say.
right,
If we look at just the three major steps on the front of the house, on the first floor, at every single outside corner, there's a material change. Is that intentional, or it is intentional? So when you look at the house obliquely from the front right corner, you'll see these different materials at every single outside corner. Is that what you want?
where you're going to see shakes on the, you're talking about the front elevation.
Front and right side, let's say that, where you can see all these outside corners.
Right, you're going to see different materials.
Everyone changes materials. You intend that. Looking at the rear elevation, if I can find it. It looks like you have a brick foundation wall.
It's actually stone.
That's stone. And when you get to the steps that come out, there's a little poke out there where you have steps that come out of that piece of the house. Are they brick or stone?
Brick.
They're brick. They're not shown on the drawing, but they are there.
Right.
Have any idea what the handrails will look like?
I'm sorry.
Handrails for those steps?
Well, we put handrails when they're required for
You have 4 risers, so they're
the
definitely
heights.
required.
If it's not high enough for handrails, we don't like to use handrails, but if they are, then we'll be using either all wrought iron or wrought iron pickets with,
Tell me what you want, because that's what we're going to approve or not.
the easiest thing would be the all wrought iron.
Wrought iron.
Just for clarification, Mr. Bradford, when we get to the point of approving, we have to know what it is that we are approving
Right.
with sufficient specificity that when an inspector goes out, he knows whether you've done what was approved or not. So I think this is to David's point. It's not that we necessarily have a preference one way or the other, we just have
I
to be
understand,
specific.
yeah.
Yeah, most of this, as John has pointed out, I just want to make sure what it is I'm voting on.
Right, I understand.
Okay, if I look at the front of the house, similarly, no handrails are shown. Would they match the ones in the back?
On the front, there would be no handrails unless the height of that foundation required them.
I can't tell you if it does, but you've drawn 4 risers, which requires a handrail.
"30 inches or raise your foot 3 times." So is that 4 risers? Yeah. So,
Well, your design, I'm just
well, I mean,
asking.
that's how we decide whether or not we're doing that. We could do it either way, but generally, we don't like to put the handrails unless it's high enough to need them. So
Let's say it is.
that's going to
since-
really be determined by the.
Again, Mr. Brown, just to be, we can't approve something that you're going to do either way. We have to know what it is you intend to do so that we can approve it.
The only way to be sure is to say, yes, we're going to put the rails, because if it's, regardless of the height, that's the only way to be sure.
You could say to me, for example, if I have a rail, it'll be wrought iron, and it'll match the rail in the back. Is that good?
That's true.
Okay. Okay, if we focus on the roof plan, can you go to the roof plan sheet, please?
The roof plan?
Yeah, roof plan.
I don't have that one.
That's the same as the floor plan.
I have it in the PowerPoint.
Oh, okay. Well, on your roof plan, when I look at the front elevation, there's a major gable right over the front door. The tallest one goes right to the ridge of the main roof. It's the one with the circular window in it, that
Right.
gable. When I look at the roof plan, it's non-existent. Surely the roof plan is wrong. I've only seen one in your application. It's on the same sheet as the floor plan.
So what are you asking? I'm sorry.
The main gable, the one that's over the front
Right.
door, this one, this big one, it doesn't
David,
exist
for
on
the-
your roof plan.
David, what is the exhibit number you're referring to? Or the page number, either one?
Thank you, Richard. A2.2, bottom right corner.
Thank you. Yep. Sir, are you looking at the same one that David's asking you about, so that,
A2.2?
I'm sorry, page what?
Exhibit A 2.2. It's the one that has your elevations on it, the same sheet,
What on it?
has your elevations.
oh, geez. The exhibit numbers,
There you go. That's it.
That's it, yep. If you look at the bottom right corner of that sheet, there's a roof plan. Yep, and you can see that entire gable is missing. Is that wrong?
Yes, it is.
And that would be something when the building inspectors, when they do their review of the building plans, they would, I'm sure,
Well,
send
yeah, I
that
would hope
back.
so, yeah. But I guess I just want to make sure which version is.
Right,
the
as
right
long as
version.
what they're doing in the elevations.
The elevation is going to be is the correct one.
the elevation is correct, the roof plan is not correct.
Right.
Okay.
I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Questions from other commissioners for the applicant?
Question, and this may come to you in a second. Glass block. Can you remind me the way we approach that?
I would have to look at the standards.
I want to say it's not prohibited.
Don't think so, but I don't know for sure.
Okay,
I
it's-
know I've seen the words in there, but
Yeah, we don't see it often, so hence the question. I just want to be certain, but it's showing in on the floor plan, basement level, on the ground floor level. And if you look in the bathroom, you can see it on the side elevation.
Yep. If I may.
Yep.
glass block windows are not permitted on street-facing elevations.
Not on the street-facing elevation, okay.
Richard, I have some follow-ons too, maybe. Sorry, I
Yeah.
missed a whole
You
category.
gonna hit on the garage door?
No, I'll save that
Okay,
one for
well,
you.
you carry on now.
Okay. Windows. I find no details for the type of window or its characteristics or its color or, can you tell us something about your windows?
Genwell brand window, and it would have the exposed grill on the front of the windows where there is a grill. Some of the windows don't have a grill. So where they're out, the outside would be what they call a simulated divided light.
Color are they and what material are they?
Or
Color and material.
white,
White and the material?
vinyl. But they're actually vinyl clad. They're woodwind vinyl cladding.
Gutters and downspouts. Can you speak to what color, what material?
Color would match the trim color.
And what shape? The typical OG shape?
Yes.
About half round. The metal roof, can you speak to that?
I'm sorry.
The metal roof, material, color, shape, design,
Standing rib roof, metal roof.
metal roof, is it standing seam or is it that?
Standing seam.
Standing seam. And what color?
I believe we've got, it's
Did I
showing
miss that one?
black.
Find it anywhere. I may have missed it.
Sorry?
Black?
Black.
The columns, they look quite simple in your elevations. Are they just square wood painted
Square.
columns? About how big?
Or about, well, they should, at least 8 inches. We want to put that lattice between them, like it's showing there. We found that in some historic areas that we thought would be appropriate here. And so we're going to probably use 8-inch columns with that lattice in between them.
Roughly speaking. Garage door, Richard.
Yeah, just, it looks, from what we have, it looks a little more modern than what we're typically used to seeing. Do you have, I'm assuming if you had a sample, or do you have something you could share, or do you have a similar picture? All we have to go off is on that left elevation.
And what were you asking them?
If you could better describe it, just color, kind of detail, from what we see in the elevations, it's typically a lot more modern of a style than we would typically get in front of us.
I'm still not clear.
On the garage door, can you describe the garage door, the style, the
garage door.
color? It appears more modern than what we typically get.
Okay. Well, the garage doors are metal doors, and they would have a glass in the top, and then 4 panels.
The glass on the top 4 panels.
Right.
I want to just halt the questioning for a minute. Question for Maria. It appears we're going down the road of having some significant conditions that would be attached to a motion if we make any. We've got a lot of them. Do you see a way that we might be able to do, I'm not sure I know who's going to make that motion, if they will make one, but could you see a way that we can document all of these conditions in a way that inspections would be able to properly judge whether what was constructed was what was approved?
I think if you just add, I've been making a list of them. And
You think you have a list, we could perhaps enumerate the general items that, for which there were conditions, and you have the detail specified in the detail that staff has? Okay, Richard, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so glass top panel, black metal door. Is that correct?
Black metal,
It's a black garage door. Is it black?
oh no, the garage door would be the color of the trim.
Oh, trim, okay, white, okay, got it.
Well, it's that cream, let's see. sort of that cream color there.
Got it, okay.
And with 4 glass panes on the top panel. Okay.
Four?
Well, they go all the way across, so.
Right.
Yeah,
This is showing 3, 1 single glass pane, and then 3 panes beneath it.
18-foot wide piece of glass in the top, ain't gonna happen.
Is that glassed piece on the top, I think they're asking, are they like 4 multiple small windows on the top part?
There's separate windows. They're-
And then you have 3 panels below the rolling door?
Right.
And are those glass windows mullioned? Do they have the simulated divided light or anything, or are they just a one pane?
It
of
probably
glass?
would be clear, just no mullions in them at all to match the others on the house. And we'll say that they are.
Okay. Does that help?
While Richard's thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Another follow-on. On your windows. All but 2 of the windows on the front elevation are 4/1.
Right. Right,
Purpose or?
on purpose. We found this in a historic book and we just liked the look, so we just tried to copy it. But, and then we had the same question, but that's what they're showing. There's multiple elements in houses now, and as I ride through the historic area, you'll see them. I mean, that's,
Sidra, when you mention historic book, do you mean of Pinehurst specifically, or just a book on
yeah.
historic houses?
what we found it in was in just historic houses book,
Just
Not Pinehurst.
historic houses anywhere or in Pinehurst?
not just Pinehurst.
Okay, thank you.
David, I just wanted to bring up with the windows, on the rear elevations and the left and the right, they're 1/1s?
Yeah.
So we've got 1/1s, 9/1s, and 4/1s. And then we have a French door, service door, it looks like, on the right elevation.
Just to be clear, you do intend on those the non-front elevation, that they will be 1/1?
Right.
That's quite a mix. You like it that way?
I like it, and I'm not locked into anything, but, you know, I've been doing this 40 years, and I never do what I like, so.
Well, it's your house. You get to build what
We're
you want.
flexible about that, I mean.
Other questions from the commissioners for the applicant? Hearing none, thank you very much, Mr. Bradford. Are there any members of the public who wish to present any evidence either in support of or in opposition to the application? Seeing none, I will declare the record in this case is closed, and it is now time for the commissioners to deliberate.
I'll start. if I
David.
may, for the sake of discussion. There is in the standard, there is a strong preference, should nonetheless, that the garage not face the front yard. And apparently the Graham Road side of the lot is the front yard. Looks to me like there's room enough in the setbacks to rotate the house about 90 degrees, or not quite that, such that the garage would not face the front yard. So I'm not convinced that every effort was made to do that.
Maria, could you put, oh, here we are. David, I thought about that myself, and I suppose arguably if you go perpendicular out the front of the house, it intersects with Graham Road, although it kind of looks at the intersection of Graham and Mackenzie. You would propose, if they rotated it, I don't know, 30 degrees to the left, forget what the post office says the address is, we could say that it fronted on Mackenzie Road, no matter what the mailbox says.
I would propose to rotate it clockwise, not counterclockwise, so that it fronts
So they're
on
truly
Graham.
fronted, truly, in all sense, faced Graham Road.
Yeah, which solves the garage problem.
Yes, in a minute. Yes, you will be able to, sir. I'd like to hear other, are there other topics of discussion? David, do you have other things?
Yeah, but they hinge on this one, so, but let me get it.
Sir, please come back to the, and you want to go ahead and respond to David?
There's two site plans when you look at this. One is the city's restrictions, which this is.
I'm sorry, one is the,
City, Pinehurst City Village requirements. That's what this is. The other is the requirements in the covenants of the deed. And this is you can't rotate it out. The covenants are more restrictive than this. But you're only involved with the city requirements. That's why we gave it to you this way. But we fixed it so it would fit both.
there are covenants in the deed you have for the property that say, that limit your ability to reorient the house.
Yes.
You have covenants on your lot.
Sorry?
You have covenants on your lot.
All those lots do over there.
It tells you that you can't front on Graham Road?
So it just restricts the size. That house won't fit in the,
Oh, no, I'm looking at your setback
rotated,
line.
it won't fit.
I'm looking at your setback line. Looks like there's plenty of room
Yeah.
to rotate the
So
house.
that's the city's setbacks. The covenant setbacks are more restrictive.
Help.
I'm not,
I don't know the covenant setbacks.
I'm
So
not
what-
sure that's in our purview to make that determination anyway.
yeah, what they have on here is, here's the front setback, which that's the direction that the house is facing. And we have side over here.
Right.
Rear and side.
Well, I guess I'm not convinced. I've never heard of the covenant argument before, so I feel a little ignorant about this issue. But in terms of the historic district standards, we've defined what's the front yard. Graham is the front yard. The garage shouldn't face Graham. It says every effort should be made.
But if you're looking at where the
Yeah.
setbacks are, this is the only front setback. So that's where they're setting the house back, that 40 feet for the building envelope.
This is almost more a corner yard. It's more a corner lot, even though technically kind of the,
Well, I guess.
So we're
in
making
terms of
this
the
a
spirit-
side.
The spirit of the ordinance, the way I read it, or the standards, the way I read it, is you don't want the garages facing the main street
Right.
frontage.
I agree.
And surely Graham is the main street frontage. You only get a little bit on McKinsey.
Dave, if I can offer up, the newer house on the end of Graham, up at top of the hill, has a garage that faces Graham.
Oh, okay.
So I understand what you're saying. I mean, there's a lot of topography, there's a lot of grade change on this lot. I'm sure moving the house or tweaking some is a lot of cutting, there's maybe retaining walls, it changes what the backyard feels like. So for me personally, the garage facing Graham is not as big a deal because there's other houses on Graham that have done that and it looks attractive. I think the hard part for us is typically, if we can get over that hurdle, well, we want to know what the garage door looks like, because it is going to be prevalent. And that's where a sample or a colored picture would really go a long way to help. What I'm struggling with is, if you go back to the elevation, it's just the switching of that left and right elevation have really thrown me off, because the glass block, I know it's not on the street-facing side, but on the current elevation, it's showing it on the street side, but it's not. But then when I match that up with the roof line and that peak on the front above the garage, it's not that left and right are mislabeled. It's almost like they've been inverted and turned upside down.
No, it's on the it's on the street side because when you put the house on, there's not enough room to make a turn,
Yeah,
come into the garage. If we flip that house over and the garage was facing the neighbor rather than Graham,
yeah.
you can't get in.
Well, let me clarify. So you're saying, if you're looking at the same one here, if we take the left elevation, that garage is actually closer to the right-hand side,
Right.
okay? But it's actually on the wrong side. It should be on the right elevation side. And if you're looking at that view where the porch is, you've got a shed dormer there, but that shed dormer doesn't exist. The front of the garage is actually a gabled roof.
No,
If you
no,
look at the
that's-
top, if you look at the top left,
The only thing that's wrong is those two elevations are each one flipped, but left is left, right is right. That's correct. They're just flipped. They've been drawn in mirror image. That's all.
They're not mislabeled, they are,
They were mislabeled last month. This
Yeah,
month, he
what
got the
the right's
labels
left
right,
and left's right.
but he didn't flip the drawings.
Got it.
did not catch that, I will tell you that for sure. Thank you, David.
So the right, as we're looking at it, is just missing a garage.
This will help. I actually flipped it because I had exactly the same problem.
I thought the left was where the garage was, but it was toward the front of the right side.
And Mr. Brad, the reason I'm asking Mr. Bradford is just that road, the majority of what you see of that house is going to be on that Graham Road. So as far as people judging the aesthetics of the house, the way it fits in, that's going to be the broadside that people see coming down the road.
We looked at it as coming off of 211 to that intersection, that it was really a corner house. It's not, I mean, it should be facing that point
Yeah.
and not either street. Because
That
that's
help?
where most people are going to see it from.
Yes, that, if you come down either of the other two, it almost doesn't matter, but if you
Right.
come down from 211, theoretically, you'd like to see the house straight on.
Right.
That makes sense. Yeah.
David, other topics, as we have no one from the public who has wished to be heard, we can leave Mr. Bradford at the table. There are other questions that you have for commission consideration?
For the commission, since it sounds to me like we've resolved the orientation of the house, that begs the question of the number of trees that are being removed. We have no topo plan, so we don't know what trees are being removed as a result of grading, because we don't have a grading plan. And it seems to me there are lots of trees that are inside the envelope, but far away from the house, that need not come down, and there are even more of them outside the envelope, even further from the house, that need not come down. I don't know if that's true, because I don't know that, as Richard pointed out, there's a lot of grade change on the site.
David, thank you, and I had intended to ask about that myself, and I apologize because the factual record is now closed, but I would offer the opinion that looking at this survey, there seem to be trees that are being taken out that are well away from the house and could in theory be left. But I would also condition that statement on David's caveats, which are, there's a lot of slope in the yard, and maybe that has something to do with it. I simply don't know.
Very difficult site, it is.
I would keep in mind that a lot of those trees that they're removing are also less than 12 inches in diameter at breast height.
Good point.
I counted, there were 10. There's 10, when I looked at, there's 10, 12 inches diameter breast height trees outside of the building envelope, approximately.
A couple of them look close enough to the building that maybe
They have to.
they have to, but
Right.
there are certainly several. I don't know if it's 10. Other deliberation from the commission?
I have to say, the record's closed, right?
Record is closed.
Number of adjustments that need to be made, even if they're in list form, are so many. It would be hard for me to say this is an adequate submittal. You know, I think the builder has answers for all of these and understands those things which have been drawn in correctly and could easily be fixed. But for me to actually vote on with the number of adjustments that need to be made is pretty difficult.
I'm, again, speaking just as one person on the commission, I agree with David. Hypothetically, if we were to defer any action here so that you did not have to make a new application, but rather fill in some of the details that we've asked about,
Right.
would a delay of round numbers 30 days be problematic for you?
That would be great.
Yeah, I'd especially like to see a little better rendering of the garage facade, especially because that is really front and center.
About what you want, I mean, it's,
I think Maria has the detailed list, so in working with her, you can probably identify the additions to the application package that would be very useful. Again, our purpose is both to look at sort of the aesthetics, that which is congruous, but also to provide a document that's clear enough that inspectors know whether you built what we approved.
I'm happy to do that. Just give me the list and I'll, gather it all up.
May I have a motion to, Marie, do we need a motion to defer action? I think we do. Is that in our,
Did you close the evidentiary portion?
the evidentiary portion is closed.
In order for him to submit new material, we'd have to have that still open, and then we could continue it.
I would entertain a motion to reopen the evidentiary portion for the purpose of continuing this hearing until our next meeting.
So moved.
Moved by David Herring. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And none opposed. I would then say the evidentiary record is once again open and therefore can accept additional submissions. And do we need a motion to defer action?
No, we just continued it to the
Continue it.
next
Fine.
meeting.
We will continue this at the next meeting, which is, I think, the 26th of October, if I remember from the cover. Whatever the fourth Thursday of October is.
That's correct.
And we will welcome you back. Looks
Right.
like potentially a very nice house on a very difficult lot.
John?
Da-
One last piece. While you're doing this, if you'll take the colors you've chosen and find a color from the approved color palette, which is in the standards, to propose, because these are not approved colors. At some point, you have to do that anyway, so.
I think you happen to have chosen Sherwin-Williams colors, and our palette is all Benjamin Moore colors, and we don't insist that you use Benjamin Moore paint. But
Okay.
if you found a color in the Benjamin Moore palette that was similar, or if you think that Sherwin-Williams is, you could just say it's similar to Benjamin Moore, whatever.
They have a match, the both of them do.
Right.
They just know what's.
You can cross-reference, right.
All you have to do is tell us which approved color
Right.
you're choosing.
Okay. So,
And I would, in
We have to
addition
look
to,
at that also. We saw some that were
in
similar.
addition to more detail on the garage door, I think a sample of the brick, whatever it is, would be useful as well.
yeah, whatever you need, just, if you'll get me that list, then we'll get it back to you.
I think you have a good sense from here, and Maria certainly has a good sense.
Well, they're all good questions. It's just, doing
Exactly.
exactly what I wanted to get here. So,
Thank you very much.
okay, I appreciate
Appreciate
Look
it.
forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David, I shared your drawings, and I'm assuming you have copies, or,
Yeah, I got copies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maria, will you please call the next case?
Yes, I will. All right, the purpose of this public hearing is to consider a request for a major certificate of appropriateness within the Pinehurst Historic District for a modification to a detached garage at 190 Midland Road. The property is identified as Moore County Parcel ID Number 000-15636. The property owner is ZCT Properties Number 2 LLC, and the applicant is William Halsey. So the applicant proposes to relocate 3 existing pillars on the right side of the garage, remove the lattice screen, and extend the concrete, all to match the left side of the carport. The primary structure was built in 1930. The property is approximately .629 acres in size. And this is major work requiring review because it is the relocation, removal, or demolition of any structural part of a primary structure, including accessory buildings or accessory structures that exceed 144 square feet. The public hearing was noticed in accordance with the PDO and North Carolina general statutes. And you can see the hashed out property is our subject property, and the noticed properties are outlined in red. So here we have a picture of the existing garage, and you can see what they are proposing to do is move these 3 pillars out to the edge of the concrete here, remove this lattice screen, and just extend the concrete apron a little bit there, all so it looks nice and matches the other side. And this is just a street view of the existing garage. So the applicant has submitted an application and provided additional documentation in an attempt to satisfy the burden of proof. The commission will need to determine if the changes to the garage are congruous with the historic district and if they meet the historic district standards. And I would like to submit into the record the staff report with attachments and exhibits, this presentation, and the application and applicant's materials and exhibits.
Without objection, the materials referred to by staff are admitted into the record. Do commissioners have any questions for staff? Hearing none, we will now hear from the applicant. Is the applicant or the representative, are the applicant or the representatives present? Please come forward. Come to the standing mic, please. Please state your name, spell your last name for the record, and state your relationship to the property.
William Halsey, spelled Haulsee. I work with Mr. Zach Taylor here and his wife, and we intend to do the improvements to the said property.
Very good. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give to the commission with respect to this application will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Stand or sit as you prefer, but in any case, please speak into the microphone. Is there anything you would like to add to what Maria had to say, or?
No, not really. We just, Mr. Taylor here is asked us to do this improvement for him because he thought it would make it look nicer and make things look more symmetrical and be able to use that to, park a vehicle or whatever underneath. And it was pretty simple what we're going to do. So we'd like to proceed.
I don't want to prejudge the commission, but this appears to be a slightly more straightforward application than the previous one. Are there any questions from the commission for the applicant?
For the sake of clarity, if I'm looking at the left side of this building, you're just replicating that on the right-hand side.
That's correct. And we use the
The
same.
only question I had, okay.
We use the same materials and details on all the trim, so it'll look old just like that one does.
Any other questions from the commission for the applicant? Thank you, sir. We appreciate you coming. As I said earlier, are there any members of the public who wish to present any evidence either in support of or opposition to the application? If so, please come forward. Seeing none, and as there are no questions for the people who did not come to question that, I will declare the record closed. Questions for commissioners, discussion by commissioners, or if none, are we ready for I would entertain a motion. David, you're poised.
Oh, to make the motion?
Angelique is poised, excellent.
I'll make the motion. I move that the Historic Preservation Commission approve the Certificate of Appropriateness COA 2023-00301 and find the proposed major work at 190 Midland Road is consistent with historic district standards and is deemed congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District based on the testimony given, the material submitted, and the findings of fact.
We have a proposal for a motion by Angelique. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Roxanne Vikas. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Congratulations, you have your COA. And in case you were wondering, there is no minimum time that we require these hearings to go. We can do it this quickly if presented with the right proposal. But thank you very much. As that is the last motion, that concludes the public hearing. May I have a motion to close the public hearing and return to the regular commission meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Richard. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by David. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are now in the regular meeting. This is a public meeting, and you all who are not leaving are welcome to stay and observe, but only members of the commission and its staff may speak. We've all been provided with a copy of the minor work and staff approvals. They do not, there's for information only. We do not have to move on that. Is there any other business to come before the commission today? Our next regular meeting will be held on October 26th, 4 o'clock in this room. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I just had a question. Were we not having a work session? In October? I
David,
thought-
if I go so far as to assume you will have something for us to work on, should we have a work session?
After complaining about things going slowly, I'll be gone for a week between now and then, which will put a kink in my,
The chair designates that as not responsive answer. Do you want to have a work session or not? Will you have something for us?
for me, it would be no. Unless we can put a stamp on the one we looked at today, that's kind of up to Alex.
I don't think we need a full work session just for that. How have you been progressing through this? Are you making notes as you go along? In the sections B, C, D, and E?
They're fully redlined. I have to go back through them to try to get them to be consistent with the changes we've made to the one section we did finish, and that's it. Question is, can
If I
get
made
that
a
done?
friendly suggestion that you send out what you have, safe, secure in the knowledge that one of us are likely to do that same thing for you,
Sure, I can send them out right away.
we need to confirm that the room is available, or do we have strong suspicion that it is?
Let's check.
I was just curious because you had said you didn't want to do a work session in November or December. That means October's the only option.
No, December
So-
for sure. Our meetings December and November, as you know, are the 3rd, not the 4th. so
Right, the
they're not
16th.
Right up against the holidays. I would like to have one in October and move along whatever portion we can move along.
I'll get as much done as I can and send it out as quickly as I can and go from there.
We can ask.
And understanding that you have greater depth of subject matter expertise than I have, I will be happy if you want to send comments back to me to collate them for that meeting. And I'll get you what I think is the collated version, and you can take it from there. That will save you at least a week's worth of work, and you can be on vacation then, or traveling, or whatever you're doing.
Okay.
Let us schedule a 3 o'clock meeting on October 26th, work session.
Okay.
Our regular meeting at 4 o'clock on the same day here.
Can I just clarify so I make sure I understand?
And
No,
yes,
no,
you may.
no. We are editing what David is going to send us, and we are sending it to you.
Sending editorial comment to me,
Okay.
which I will collate and work into what will become a blue and red line version, or some other color and red line version. So so the document that we have to work on will reflect each of your comments, and hopefully Kara's and Carl's, I'll maybe send them an email after this, letting them know what we decided. And so we have something that is at least not a first draft, let's call it a second draft, not necessarily the final draft, and see if we can't move more expeditiously by doing that. Anything else, Roxanne?
No, that sounds good.
I would now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
I'll make
moved.
the motion.
Moved by David. Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.